Hey guys, welcome back to Cityscape Brewing. I'm Dennis Fields, and today we're going to be talking about a little something different. Today we're going to be talking about 5 ways that you can become a better brewing outside of the brew day process. So things you can do that don't involve the brew day process to become a better brewer. So with that, let's grab a beer and discuss it. All right, so you have a couple beers under your belt, you've brewed a couple batches, you're wondering how to start becoming a better brewer more consistently. Maybe you're still in extract brewing, maybe you've switched to all grain, but the number one thing that I would suggest doing is be a copycat. And by that I mean, don't remake the wheel. Take a really common recipe that you found. A lot of people do like a two-hearted ale from Bell's, and then they try to mimic it, right? Do the same beer. Either buy a kit with all of the ingredients in there, download a recipe that are commonly found online. Bell's has actually their own recipes right on their website, and then change it up a little bit, right? Brew the same one, see how good you can get it. You can go and compare the same beer with the beer that you've made and see how you're doing. That's gonna make you a better brewer and know if you're doing something wrong or not, because you'll essentially have the same ingredients. And then you can kind of tweak things from there. But as you get better in brewing and you've kind of perfected that, or you've gotten at least very close, start changing the recipes up a little bit. Find a recipe online, even if it's not a common recipe, something that you'd like to try and brew, and then just change a few ingredients. Play around with the yeast, play around with the malts, add a couple more hops, or even remove some hops, right? Find things that work for you and things that you're going to want to drink, and make it your own, right? So you don't have to start from scratch saying, build a whole recipe from scratch, but it helps you by using those other recipes to kind of come up with what is the right percentages of base malts and adjuncts and other things to add into your brew recipes to make good beers. And then eventually, when you get better, you can start making your own from scratch. But I would suggest just starting from a good beer that you know is good and trying to perfect that first. Number 2, brew smash beers. And SMASH stands for single malt and single hop. And I have a video going through the whole single malt, single hop brew day video in the link description below. You can go ahead and watch that. But this lets you really explore what types of, especially yeasts and hops that you like in your beer. A lot of people will use a basic 2-row or a Pilsner or a different type of base malt that they really like. And then they'll put in different yeasts and hops, and that really helps you find out which flavors and yeast strains that you like, and you can use those in your beer going forward. But it helps you kind of single out a single malt, a single hop, and a single yeast that you like, and then you can use those in future recipes. Number 3, and probably one of the more important ones, is turn to the cold side. And by that I mean, best way to improve your beer is with temperature control during fermentation. And I again have another video in the link below in the description that goes over temperature control. It's probably one of the most important things to improve flavor of your beer. You perfected the recipe, and now you're just working on getting it to taste good and to be consistent over time. And the best way to do that is with fermentation. So behind me I have my fermentation chamber. I use that for all of my beers, no matter what, whether it's warm, whether it's cold, whether it's a lager, anything, because that's gonna help you dial in and get your temperature within that range for your particular yeast strain that you're using. Now, what if you don't have a fermentation chamber yet, or you're not there? One of the other videos I've done, and I'll put this one in the link description below also, is using Kveik yeast. And Kveik yeast likes warmer temperatures, especially in the summer. So if you're one that is brewing and you don't have fermentation, you're just putting in an extra spare bedroom, which I did for a very, very long time, and it's warm in your house and it's not getting into the 60s, and guess what? Fermentation actually warms that beer temperature up. Kveik yeast like warmer temperatures. They'll brew into the 80s, 90s, and sometimes even into the hundreds, and it'll turn out great. And actually, in some cases, you'll need to put that Kveik yeast in a warm bathtub to get it really going. So don't be afraid of using Kveik yeast if you don't have fermentation control or temperature control during your fermentation. Number 4, brew with friends. you always learn other things from brewing with other people. And as long as I've even been doing this, when I brew with other people, I learn things that they do that I would have never thought of doing. And even recently, and I've said this in a couple of videos so far, is I've learned that I wasn't Vorlofing nearly enough to help clarify beer. And to be honest with you, my beers turned out pretty good because of other things that I was doing. But Vorlofing was one that I was just doing enough, just not quite as much as I should. And so I actually ramped that up a bit and my beers turned out a lot clearer, right? And so those are things that you can do to help become a better brewer, is brew with friends and look at how their processes are. They have different, people will use, you know, robo brews or brew in a bag or whatever process they use, and you'll learn from them by doing it together. And the very last thing, and I want to stress this one probably the most as the most important rule, number 5, is join a homebrew club. When I first moved, I lived near the Charlotte area, and when I first moved here, I'd go to different breweries and I'd talk to their brewers or people that were working there, and they asked me, "Are you part of a homebrew club?" And I'm like, "Homebrew what?" And that, little did I know, there are local homebrew clubs all over in probably every major city or county in the entire country. And I'm now part of the Upper Palmetto Zymurgy Society, which is just outside of Charlotte. And that homebrew club has taught me way more than I care to tell. It's made me a better brewer. There are many people that have come from our homebrew club specifically and became brewers of actual breweries. And I'll tell you what, they have educational classes every single time that we meet every month. There's people coming in from different brewers talking about how to brew hazy IPAs, different yeast strains, how to tell off flavors in your beer, and it's a really educational experience. And so if there's anything that I can stress in this video on those 5 things, join the homebrew club, because you'll learn a little bit of all of the other things I talked about tonight in that homebrew club. And so find out. A lot of them are listed on Facebook. Talk to the breweries. There are a lot of the breweries in your local area will be affiliated or will know somebody that are part of those local homebrew clubs. So get involved with the homebrew club. I'm actually part of the board for our homebrew club now, and I'm leading the educational portion for this next year. And I'm really excited about it because I get to go out and talk to other breweries and bring them in to help teach other people how to become better brewers over time. So with that, I hope this really helped you become a better brewer. I hope you'll take these 5 suggestions really seriously, and outside of your brew day, try to bring some of these things in to make yourself a better brewer. So as always, please like and subscribe, share this video with others. That helps me get these videos out faster to you, helps me know what people like by commenting in their videos too. If you want to see something specific, let me know. And with that, cheers and happy brewing.